Welcome to E-Commerce Insiders, a journey to success, where we dive deep into the heart of e-commerce, uncovering the secrets behind successful online stores and the entrepreneurs who run them. Hosted by Chris Morano, each episode includes insights, strategies, and inspirational stories designed to guide e-commerce store owners on their journey to building remarkable brands. Whether you're starting up or scaling up, we're here to light the way, sharing the experiences of those who have made their mark. Let's get ready to build your dream brand together.
Today's episode of E-Commerce Insiders, a journey to success, we're sitting down with Brandon Rogers, the visionary founder behind LVLS Sportswear. It's not just another brand, it's a movement that Brandon is trying to create, dressing modern athletes in asymmetrically designed, fashion-forward sportswear that's catching the eyes of the players in the NBA, WNBA, G League, and NCAA, as well as athletes across 20 countries worldwide. Brandon shares his journey from growing up in Tokyo, where fashion and personal style are part of the culture, to revolutionize the sportswear industry. With a background that spans continents and industries, from a college basketball player to an SEO expert, Brandon's unique perspective is transforming athletic sportswear. Dive into a discussion filled with insights on identifying and solving a real need in the market, the balance between function and fashion, and the art of turning a personal passion into a global brand. Join us as we explore how LVLS Sportswear is redefining athletic apparel, one asymmetrical design at a time. Today, we're super excited to have Brandon Rogers on, the founder of LVLS Sportswear. LVLS Sportswear has found success in a niche specific to asymmetrically designed, fashion-forward sportswear products for the modern athlete. Currently, their brand is worn by players in the NBA, WNBA, G League, NCAA, and more, in addition to athletes in over 20 countries worldwide. So, Brandon, it's a pleasure to have you on today. Thanks for coming on to discuss the journey of e-commerce for our listeners.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. So before we get into some of the nitty-gritty questions, why don't we get into a little bit about your background and what brought you to the world of e-commerce?
Yeah, so it depends on how far you want to go back. I guess the best place to start is giving people a pretty distant background. I grew up overseas in Tokyo, Japan. My parents were international teachers, so was exposed to all the Japanese culture. And if you know anything about Japanese culture, it's very fashionable. Everyone has their own unique styles, and there's so much going on. And the interesting thing is I was probably the least fashionable person growing up. I used to get made fun of all the time by my friends, and looking back at photos, I just cringe nowadays still. So, it goes to show that if you can find a niche and you're devoted to learning more about it, it doesn't matter what your background is. A lot of times, it's actually better if you don't have any experience in it, because you can bring a new perspective to an industry like sportswear, which is perfect. And we can get into all the details about differentiation and stuff like that. But so I grew up overseas. I was a college basketball player, so it was difficult to get recruited in Japan, just because, I played Division III. So a lot of Division III coaches aren't stretching their exposure, that far. So I eventually went to a camp in the US, which was with an old organization that I ended up working for after college. And they helped me get recruited to a D3 school in Virginia, Northern Virginia, Marymount University. Played there for 4 years. Loved it. It was a great experience. Graduated with a marketing degree as well. So now I work full-time in SEO for a marketing agency based out of New York City, but I live just outside DC. I work remote.
Okay.
But that's kind of a long-winded way to say I was working for this basketball organization. I was traveling around the world recruiting kids to come to the same academy I went to as a player. And I started to realize that a lot of athletes were cutting their base layers, their compression gear, with scissors to get that asymmetrical or that leg sleeve look. And that's when the pandemic hit. So I couldn't really travel anymore, couldn't do much. Went home, decided to take the next 6 to 12 months to really build this business. And now it's taken off, and we're getting a lot of traction both in the US and overseas. And I'm here for the ride. I'm excited.
That's awesome. I mean, what a story. So growing up in interesting. I would have never assumed growing up in Japan. With that and with the interest in basketball, like for anybody who doesn't know, explain like what it is your product is and how there's the benefit to the end user or the athlete.
Yeah. So I always like to frame it as solving a problem first. All products, all services, all businesses, at the end of the day, they have to solve a problem for consumers.
Right.
And our problem initially was the fact that athletes were cutting their clothes with scissors. So there's obviously a need for not only a more functional leg sleeve, but an alternative to what's already on the market, the leg sleeves, whatever it may be, full length compression tights, 3/4 compression tights. And I primarily went into it to solve that functionality, but also position the brand more towards a fashion forward sportswear company. So everything that we sell now and in the future will have some sort of asymmetry roped into it. That's our niche. That's what we found success in. And so little did I know, though, I was actually solving another problem in another industry as well, which is, I ran a poll the other day on our social media channels, and it turns out that about 65% of our customers purchase for the fashion or the style, the look of the garment. And, 30% purchase for a medical reason or for the functionality underneath a knee brace, which was awesome to hear about. So a quick little aside, this is a nice story. I was home for Christmas in 2022, just, doing some work on my laptop during the day before the festivities started. And I get a phone call from a woman in Canada, and she told me that she had a medical disease, a genetic disease in her leg that forced her to wear a knee brace for her whole life. And she purchased knee braces from a number of medical technology companies that give you these big, bulky, knee braces. And they always throw in a really low quality leg sleeve. And so she had been, suffering from constantly having to readjust this leg sleeve, or it doesn't maintain, perspiration very well. It's uncomfortable. It's itchy. And so she calls me on the phone and she's like, I've been looking for a product like yours for years. And so that really opened my eyes to, okay, we can target the sportswear industry, but there's also this medical and functionality aspect of it as well. So really solving two problems with one product was really cool to find out.
Yeah, it's amazing. And especially with somebody like that. I mean, athletes and, being able to solve their problem. But of course, anytime there's like a medical benefit, and you're truly solving like something that like pains someone on a daily basis, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then with having the marketing background and not the, I guess, fashion background, how did you go about kind of the planning and design of a fashion forward sports brand?
It took a long time. I could rattle off a bunch of different terrible notes on my phone that I made during the pandemic, just ideas that I was trying to throw out to myself and remember, but it's a process. You're never going to get it right. If you go back and look at the original Apple logo, it looks terrible, so every company goes through evolutions and improvements. So it was one thing that I have to mention, though, is one of the most popular majors at Marymount University was fashion merchandising. So even though I didn't have a fashion background, I knew a lot of my friends from college that I could reach out to who have been a tremendous help to me. So they were able to point me in the right direction, and I was able to locate a website that was like a blog content style site. And there was a company on there that was consistently posting about sourcing your products overseas and doing it for the first time. And just they had a ton of content. And I saw it was all from the same company. So I reached out to them, signed a contract with them. They were able to help me source the very first factory that helped me prototype the product. It took about 6 months with this factory. I had been looking for manufacturers for almost a year from all over the world, Pakistan, Australia, China, the US, Sri Lanka, whatever. And finally they helped me. And then that factory closed down because of COVID for good. So I had the initial bulk order, which ended up selling out relatively quickly. And then we had to go through the prototyping process all over again. So That was a journey in and of itself, but I'm happy that we were able to finally find a factory has scalability. So if at whatever point we get into retail, we can really crank things out as well. Yeah.
Let's touch on that a little bit, because I actually had the same experience with my e-commerce brand in manufacturing and determining overseas. For our listeners, like, what's some of the advice you could do in finding? Sounds like you used a third party to find the factory. I assume prior to that, though, you were kind of doing some legwork on your own. What would your recommendation be for prototyping, the back and forth, the communication? I remember being up at like 1 a.m. trying to speak with people in China, and just really kind of challenging, wondering like, will I ever get this idea into my hands? Walk through what that process looks like, and what would be some of your recommendations?
Yeah. So the best place to start is you're probably, if you receive some terrible samples in the mail at first, it's fine. That happens to everybody. I actually kept them, my first samples, because I want to look back 10 years from now when this is a much larger company and say, wow, this is where we started. So it's going to happen for anybody listening to this. It takes a long time to find that right relationship and that right factory. Mm-hmm. So I guess the best thing I would say is try to start with a sourcing company. I get messages on social media, especially Instagram, from all of these manufacturers, especially in Pakistan and China. And you can go with those. I've just found personally that if you don't have the expertise or the network initially, you're probably going to be wasting your time. So what I did, and this is probably the most efficient yet the cheapest way to do it, I was spending a lot of money trying to do it on my own initially, and all the samples were terrible. I found this sourcing company. They had a reasonable price. I'm happy to promote them. It's Alice James Global. They're based in Texas. It's an amazing company. What I did is I went with them to initiate the relationship with the manufacturer, and took diligent notes during that process. So then when they were ready to say, okay, do you want to sign for another year? I say, nope, I have everything I need. Now I know how to communicate with the factory. I know how to build a tech pack. I taught myself, Illustrator, Photoshop, everything that I needed to access those communications, or the deliverables that we give back and forth. Right. So it might be more efficient to start with a helping hand initially, and then pull back the reins a little bit when you start to be a little more cost conscious and you get more efficient and more knowledgeable about the process. And the great thing is I take notes of everything that I do during every day of running the business. So I dump it into a Google Doc on my computer, and that Google Doc is actually about 140 pages now of everything that I've done back to August of 2019 when I started the business. And so I use those notes to then reach out to another factory who I was put in contact with after the fact. And that's what I used to develop our second product, was the ACE compression shirts, or the asymmetrical compression shirts. So, start with that helping hand, then figure out, can you start to pull back a little bit and take things into your own hands if you don't have the background. If you have the fashion background, or you have a friend that can help you for cheaper, create a tech pack, it's so much better if you can give factories all of the details right away and not have to worry about, it costs $150 to ship a sample from China back to here. And that adds up if you're doing 5-6 samples, right? So very quickly, find a way to give them all the information, answer all their questions, send photos. If there's changes, don't ship the product, don't ship the sample, make the changes and then ship it. So find ways to be efficient in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I remember, just that process of $50 for pomade. I was like, this is the most expensive pomade I will ever purchase. So how many iterations did you go through before getting that final product that you're like, all right, this is my go-to market?
I would say about 8 to 10. But that is with all of the factories that I worked with. They shut down. So I had to go to the second one, and that was another, round of samples. So I would say about 6 if I had to, even out, cross out ones that were kind of duplicates. But It was about 6. Yeah. And it was anything from a terrible material to then when you start to get more sophisticated with it, not only the material, but now we're making customizations, small custom aspects that make a big difference in the apparel space. Like, for example, our compression tights have a branded heat press tag and a heat seal patch. I was never a fan of tags in my clothing growing up. I always cut them out. So I wanted to design all the apparel that we sell without tags. So we use heat press tags, and those minor details make a big difference. And those take samples to perfect, because even that takes a specific coloring, a specific material, how it contrasts with the actual color of the garment that it's going on. All of that needs to be taken into account. So a few samples of those back and forth too.
Yeah. So that's amazing. And, good on you for sticking with it and, seeing it through for sure. So speaking of the tags then, like, what are some of the things that have differentiated your brand from other brands in the niche? I mean, athletes sportswear, I would say, is one of the largest industries out there worldwide. What are the things that you focused on either in the planning, design, or the marketing to differentiate yourselves?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I can say right off the bat is the Levels brand is focused on or devoted to asymmetry. So everything, like I said, everything we sell now and in the future will have an asymmetrical style or structure to it. I really tried to build this brand structurally from a point where even if we don't have our logo out where you can see it, you'll probably be able to infer that it's our product. And this is actually kind of going back to a story that I used initially when I used to tell people about the brand and like why I don't put our logo out where you can see it. I grew up, like I said, overseas in Japan, and we didn't have any sponsors at our school. So I could wear my favorite pair of home and away black and white Nike compression tights. And Nike loves to slap the big check mark out where you can see it. And you're a walking advertisement. It's a clout thing at sometimes, but at the end of the day, you're a walking advertisement for Nike.
Yep. When
I got to college, my college was sponsored by Under Armour. So I was forced to throw out, or I guess no longer use, my Nike compression tights, and I had to go purchase Under Armour compression tights. And so it kind of resonated with me. So when I started this brand, in addition to the asymmetry, we also incorporated something called limited branding, in that we don't brand our apparel out where the athlete or where someone can see it and run into sponsorship conflicts, which is why we've been so successful in the NBA and NCAA and the PLL and NLL, because athletes, even if the team is sponsored, you put on a pair of basketball shorts and the only place that you can see our logo is around the waistband. So the basketball shorts cover it up. So, that was not only a positioning thing as far as getting into professional sports, because I knew if we had a big logo on the calf, we weren't going to be able to do it. But it also goes back to a little bit of my background too, and having a feeling some type of way about having to switch just because of a logo on a pair of very comfortable compression tights back in the day. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like that one little brief story has been pretty successful for you in this endeavor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool. I would have never thought about that, but that's, such a huge difference. My brother actually went to school at University of Maryland, which was an Under Armour school.
Oh yeah.
And so it was the same type of situation. So
yeah,
forward thinking for sure. Have you seen with your success with the asymmetry, other brands starting to hop into the niche specifically?
Yeah. So starting out, the unique thing about what I'm trying to do, and because the products are so new, they've still to this day, no one sells the Ace compression shirts. There is one brand or one company, I guess one website that I found that sells a sleeveless black version, but they don't have as many SKUs and they don't offer it in a short sleeve and a sleeveless version. So I really try to only release products that you can't find anywhere else. And obviously with that, as soon as we see success, everyone's going to hop on the bandwagon. So now if you search single leg tights or one leg compression pants, there's going to be Amazon knockoffs. There's going to be Walmart knockoffs. There's going to be, anybody and everybody that's trying to get a piece of the pie. And that's as expected. This kind of gets into the SEO side of it, but I was fortunate enough to be a first mover in the asymmetrical sportswear space and like still leading the charge there as best I can. So I've been able to rank very well for all of those keywords. And the cool thing is, going back to the Ace compression shirts, being a first mover in a space, whatever it may be, you have the opportunity to create the keywords that are eventually going to be trending. So I was looking at my Google Search Console the other day, and Ace compression shirts are actually bringing in a lot of traffic to our site. And that wasn't even a keyword listed. If you look at like SEMrush and Ahrefs, that's not even a keyword 2 months ago. Now it's bringing a lot of traffic to the site because we were the first movers in the space. People are looking for one arm compression shirt and they see Ace compression shirt. So if you're ever looking to start a business, find a way to position the name of your products as that trending keyword, similar to like what Kleenex and Q-tip have been able to do, years ago. Right. Same idea, same style.
Yeah, and don't always forget about those zero volume keywords, because eventually they could turn into something.
Yep, definitely.
If you are looking for a community of fellow e-commerce store owners who you can bounce ideas off of and learn from and answer questions and just be around like-minded people, join our private Facebook group, E-commerce Insiders, where you'll be able to learn from fellow store owners and also be able to provide insights. Join our private Facebook group. There's a link in the show notes below, or just go on Facebook and search E-commerce Insiders. It is a private group, so you will have to answer 3 very easy questions. Also, if you have any intention of selling anything, this group is not for you. Our goal is to provide as much value as possible to the community, not sell anything. Look forward to seeing you there. So then let's get into a little bit about the marketing strategies. I want to also talk about how you kind of got your way into the NBA and NCAA, but from a marketing strategy standpoint, as well as being an SEO specialist, like what have you found to be the most effective for top of the funnel traffic, brand awareness, and then more of that, conversion coming through that pipeline? What's worked really well and maybe what hasn't worked?
Yeah. So hands down, the number one source, I guess 1 and 2 source of traffic to our site is TikTok and SEO. So I can start with TikTok. I was a little bit adamant to start with TikTok, as typically people are with a new app coming out. I'm not a dancer. I'm not a singer. I don't have any crazy talents other than being a college basketball player. So I was very, very hesitant. I get on the app and I knew the products were in demand, because even today there's NBA players wearing compression gear with one leg visibly cut with scissors. I mean, look at Jason Tatum's Instagram page. You could see he cuts his compression tights with scissors to this day. So I knew the demand was there. I just needed to get a little bit more awareness. So I saw a similar company that sold sportswear having some traction. And so I just figured, all right, today's the day. I'm going to make a TikTok and start to promote the products. 13th video gets 70,000 views and I'm sold at that point. So I start making content twice a week, right? Everyone, I think it's Gary Vaynerchuk that's a big promoter of post 5 times a day or post 20 times, just something ridiculous. Yeah. If you're new to it, do once a week, do twice a week. Once you see traction, or even if you don't see traction and you have the bandwidth to amp up your content strategy, start to do it. You don't have to, I feel like that barrier to entry at 5 times a day is too high.
Especially when you're trying to run your own business and figure out how to eat.
We got so much other stuff to worry about too at the same time. So definitely. So I believe it was the end of 2021 when I saw that, and I made it a goal of mine to post every single day in 2022. And I just got my TikTok Wrapped. I guess I don't know what they're calling. I know it's a Spotify Wrapped, but whatever the TikTok version of that is. And it showed that I had posted 363 times last year. So I was a little pissed because I missed 2 days. But
you missed 2 days.
It was I was a little butthurt. But 363 times. And I had numerous videos go for over 1 million views. I think my best one's over 5 million. And
that's awesome.
It's incredible, right? I have not spent a dime on paid media on TikTok. That kind of traction would cost thousands of dollars to pay for, whether it's an agency or whether you're running paid ads by yourself. So get on TikTok. That's the number one piece of advice. Doesn't even matter. I see people like there's lawyers on TikTok. Mm-hmm. There's lawn care services on TikTok. Find a way to really position yourself, your brand, your products, your services in a unique way that's not like anything else, like single leg tights. And people will, especially if it's a controversial product like what we sell, a lot of people don't understand it or they debate whether it's cool or not. That's perfect. That's awesome because
keep the comments coming.
Exactly. That just fuels the algorithm and that's viral opportunities there. So TikTok is number one. And then SEO is the more long-term play, but I do have to let everyone know I do work for an SEO agency. So I have access to a lot of very expensive tools that I can use after hours for my own advantage. But there are tons of tools out there that you can either get a free month, membership with just to test it out before leveling up to the premium version. But I use those tools, figure out what keywords are on that cusp of, not high keyword difficulty, maybe like below 50 within SEMrush. I don't want to get into too many details here, but find those keywords that you want to rank for that have the potential to see some virality or trends. And then I throw it in ChatGPT now and I have it write not the full blog, obviously, because Google's been pushing against that pretty heavily, but I have it write the content brief using the keywords that I want it to target. And then I go through and write the blog, knowing what I know and positioning, the internal links where I want to help funnel traffic through the site. So yeah, those two have been very effective for top of funnel. I'm trying to think of some that, so I did run a paid media campaign on Snapchat, and that was something that I just wanted to test out because my agency has tons of experience with Google ads, Facebook ads, stuff like that, and I knew that my target audience is definitely on Snapchat, right? We're targeting 13 to 25, 35-year-olds, so I knew they were on there, and I was like, let's test it out. And little did I know, the algorithm within the Snapchat ad platform, as soon as it gets a taste of who's engaging, it just dumps all of the, monetization, all the traffic, all of the eyeballs into that category. And so I came to find out that all 99% of the impressions I was getting were from 13 to 17-year-olds who don't probably have a credit card.
Right.
And they're obviously either too immature or not. They don't remember to go tell mom and dad, hey, I want to buy these. Right. So that's one of the things is if you do decide to run some paid media or you want to, even with Snapchat, make sure that your target audience, you're fully aware of what their capabilities are, especially if you're targeting, teenagers or young adults. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a great recommendation. It's always the challenge, and when you know who you need to target, but you also know that they can't purchase anything. What does a test like that cost? So just for the listeners who are like, hey, I want to get started on Facebook ads, which are really expensive. The TikTok is great because I think it's Facebook 10 years ago when there was still organic reach. Like that Snapchat test that you were just talking about, what does a budget like that look like?
So full transparency, I just spent $250. No, I spent $500 just as a test. Just wanted to see how it went. And I'll give Snapchat some credit. Their customer service was fantastic. I had a person reach out to me, of course, trying to entice me to spend more, but he was very good at showing me how to set up the campaign better. So it was more towards retargeting campaigns as opposed to just trying to find new impressions for the target market that I was trying to hit. So that was fantastic. But as far as like an SEO standpoint, like I said, there's lots of free tools out there. SEMrush is probably on the higher end. I think the base price is $120 a month. Yeah, if you want to break down like the monthly costs, you have the Google platform, Google Analytics, Tag Manager, Search Console, even an email. I think a custom Google email is like $12
a month.
$12 a month, $12.72, yep. I think exactly. And the rest, like once you get that, you have full access to all of the other Google Suite products, which are fantastic, which is what I would highly recommend implementing into your Shopify site if you do with Shopify and Wix, Squarespace, whatever it may be. So, yeah. And then TikTok, I haven't looked into running any sort of paid media on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, but there's a number of different ways that you can do it. An agency like the one I work for is going to be on the higher end. We have, national clients that are some pretty hefty players that we have a pretty expensive base fee that I wouldn't recommend to a lot of starting out e-commerce builders. But I have a number of contacts that have quoted me. I think one is about like $1,000 a month to run as their fee, and then it's whatever you want to dump into the ads anywhere, right. And then $2,500 is probably the even one, and all the way up to you can shell out $100,000 to somebody that's pushing some stuff. So it's really whatever you're looking to do. If you want to take it step by step, I probably wouldn't recommend going below like $50 a day. And if that's out of your budget, then maybe TikTok and SEO strategies are the way to go. Just because if the revenue is not flowing to facilitate that spend, or if the cost per conversion is not, favorable in that sense, definitely try to find ways to creatively reach an audience organically.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's great advice. SEO and all the tools are SaaS bills in the thousands every month for all the tools that we have. Are you an Ahrefs guy or a SEMrush?
I'm a SEMrush guy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yep. So then as this campaign grows, how did you get the athletes into the NBA? Was that more of an organic, or were you providing, a level of outreach to say like, hey, give our products a try, we'll ship them out for free, kind of standard bootstrapping, or was there relationships built from your previous, basketball experience?
So this is a secret that I love to not keep a secret. Two things. One, I realized that athletes that probably have anywhere from 30,000 plus followers are probably not going to be answering their DMs, answering their any like even messaging. They probably have an agent who's trying to maybe work a deal, get something a little bit more favorable for the athlete out of you. But the athletes, one quick story. There was an athlete, Dane Smith, who plays in the Professional Lacrosse League and Indoor National Lacrosse League. And he's got about, last I checked was maybe like 17,000. And so I reached out to him, and because I saw he was wearing a leg sleeve with a calf sleeve on it that had BLM on the calf sleeve. And so I said, hey, back when we still did customization, I said, hey, we can send you a pair of our tights and you don't have to wear two products. You can just have the customization. We'll put BLM on the tights and send it to you so you can just wear that. And he is so fantastic. So he responded, he said, absolutely, that sounds great. We sent him the product. And he wasn't looking for any sort of compensation. He posted numerous times on his stories we got some TikTok traffic from it. And it got even to the point where I had him on our podcast as a guest, and we talked all about his story and his upbringing and got to know him pretty well. Then come to find out the PLL semifinal game is at Audi Field in DC. And he knew that me and my business partner live just outside DC. And he even invited us in the parent section to the
Oh,
playoff
no
game.
way.
And we got to go to the playoff game. We felt like such high rollers. It was amazing. But
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it was a great experience. He's out there wearing our product that we had just, this was earlier in the business journey. So we had just come out with it. We felt on top of the world. That was great. Yeah. So if you're looking for the influencers in that sense, try, and you want to directly message them, I'd say below like 15K followers. Yep. Depends on the platform, but Instagram probably below 15K. TikTok's maybe, you can't message on TikTok, but if they do have an email or you can link to the Instagram, feel free to shoot them a message. But the secret that I wanted to give out was, while I was in the process of prototyping the product, right, it took months. I am very patient, but at the same time, not stationary, not immobile, right? So patience is a whole nother thing that we could talk about, mentality wise, but that process was so agonizing. So I had to keep busy somehow. And I figured out that none of these star athletes are going to answer a direct message. They probably get, in the NBA, like a ton of smack talkers, just rude people or fans trying to get something out of them, or brands trying to hit them up. So they're not answering anything. The cool thing that I figured out, though, is all of these professional athletes, especially the big time ones, they have a personal photographer and a personal trainer, or a physical therapist, whatever. And they have easily under 10,000 followers, and they're 100% going to answer a direct message. So I was able to reach out to a few players on the Chicago Bulls. They have a trainer that lives out by me. His name is Austin Stewart at Swishology. Fantastic program. Definitely go check out their Instagram. And he's a basketball trainer. And so Javonte Green, specifically on the Bulls, trains with him in the off season. So I was able to reach out to him, in addition to another number of other photographers and trainers, develop those relationships. And then once Gary V, give, ask, right? I was able to develop those relationships with them. And then when it came time, the products arrived, I said, hey, I got this thing here. Can I slide one to you? And can you hand it off to, whoever, Javonte Green, when you train him next? And lo and behold, he comes to town, he gives him the product and loves it. And now he's been wearing it in a number of NBA games for the past 2 years. And we've been able to get some media out of it that I repurpose on our TikTok and Instagram. And, it's find ways to be creative and access, maybe through secondary or tertiary contacts, the people or influencers that you want to get in contact with.
Damn, that's some great advice. What a hell of a story too. I kudos on you on the resiliency to keep kind of digging and finding different opportunities on how to get to, the goal. Which brings me to my next question. So like, where do you see your approach to growing the business? Like, what is the goal for you in levels?
The end goal or like 3-5
year goal? Yeah.
1 year?
5 year.
5 year? Definitely want to continue to push the boundaries of what people traditionally think sportswear should be. And I don't want to give away too much, because there's some products that I have in store that are so out there that I actually had to take a step back and say, okay, I can't come out with this right now. I have to come out with the probably more adoptable version at first, and then we can evolve into that. So definitely want to keep pushing the different product lines and pushing the brand as at the forefront of this intersection between fashion and sportswear, because that's what it's becoming. Every NBA game you walk up and there's the NBA runway, and there's photos being taken even in the NFL and MLB as well. So trying to position the brand continually with those new product lines. And then retail, the biggest margins, I've built in the favorable margins into the price of the product, so that even if we get into retail, we'll still see some pretty favorable margins. So that's the biggest thing, is trying to network and find some mentors that have those connections, or reach out to the various people I need to get into some of these national retailers. And start to give the brand a little bit more distribution, in addition to the dominance that we've been able to see on our e-commerce site. So
that's pretty awesome. So in terms of that dominance, like with e-commerce changing rapidly, we're seeing new social platforms coming out all the time, different Shopify apps being released. How are you finding staying up to date with trends and technologies for your business?
So the biggest thing, and this is kind of cheating, but I have to revert back to the marketing agency I work for. We use Slack, and we have a team Slack channel where it is constant updates about what's going on. We have an automation from Google Search Console or Google Search Central that just feeds in every time they tweet about a new blog being posted. So there's just this constant influx of information and different marketing tools. So that's kind of a cheat. I would say for people that are listening to this that want to stay up to date, there's a number. I mean, you can simply Google, some of these hot tech, TechCrunch, Search Engine Journal, to stay up to date on a lot of the trending topics and what's happening, even with AI, with Google, with Bing, Microsoft, whatever it may be. And there, even scrolling through Twitter, there's so many people that have newsletters nowadays. They've taken from the Sam Parr, the Hustle newsletter, template and built out some pretty awesome stuff. Anything from Bitcoin to just, general marketing strategies. There's so many out there. I will actually plug one business that I've found that's very helpful with staying up to date, not only with marketing strategies and what other businesses are doing, but just learning about, their business story and their development. It's called Starter Story, starterstory.com. They have a newsletter that goes out, I want to say once a day, maybe a little bit less. I think it's once a day. But if you go on their website, it's fantastic. They have thousands of business stories of just all different types of industries. And they have so many ideas for people that want to start a business from scratch that haven't taken the first step, all the way to people, hitting 100 million in annual recurring revenue. So that's another great resource that I use.
All right. Awesome. I'll have to check that one out. So what would some advice be that you would give someone just starting out in e-commerce?
Oh, that is a heavy question.
Yeah. It can go many ways.
Yeah. Many, many ways. I would say differentiation is going to be key. And, if it depends, it totally depends on what you're looking to do, right? Let's just hypothetically say you're looking to sell a product, right? Yep. And there's a fantastic book that I think every founder should read, or every interested entrepreneur. It's called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And that's the question that you need to ask yourself if you're just starting out in e-commerce is why would anyone buy this product? What problem does it solve for them? How does it make their life easier, better, more fun, simpler, whatever it may be? And then really try to position everything that you do supplemental to that, according to that why, right? So, even down to the website design, the Levels website is designed asymmetrically. If you look at our drop-down menu, it's at an angle, it's asymmetrical. So really try to find ways to hone in on that why, the problem you're solving, and build everything out around that, all the way down to TikTok content, right? As a more, tangible suggestion, Shopify is a great resource if you're looking to just quickly throw together a website. The thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration with Shopify when judging these different apps is discounts on shipping. I ship for free to our domestic customers, but the international scene, the international discounts that we get through Shopify are ridiculous. I just had an order come in today, actually, from Australia, and you can see the discount that Shopify gives you. The original price of shipping a 4-ounce product to Australia is $212, right?
Wow.
No one's going to pay for a $40 product and pay $200 for shipping.
Right.
It discounts it to, $40, $35. So that alone, especially if you offer free shipping, that alone is such a nice thing to have. And it helps you, determine whether you want to offer free shipping, whether you want to start off. I didn't offer free shipping at first. I started off putting that on the customers, and it was anywhere from $3 to $7 to ship, to either Maryland or California, Alaska, whatever it may be. So figure out, those type of smaller expenses that you may not have considered initially, and then start to incorporate those into more of the business model if you haven't already.
Yeah, for sure. The shipping is always the one that kind of is that low hanging fruit. We ended up going on flat rate shipping, just kind of worked in the margins, worked in the numbers, and established like, hey, this price point can cover everybody for this, and discounted the product slightly in order to, not have it be kind of out of that price point that would be sufficient for our products.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's tons of different ways you can do it. You can even go to your local UPS. Like I live near a USPS and a UPS, and you can work out a deal with them, and they can offer you discounts, pretty close. I would say the post office is probably your best bet, but if you can't go with that route, then go talk to that branch manager of your UPS and try to tell them what you're doing and see if you can work out a negotiation so that you can get some discounts on their processes as well.
Yeah. Great advice. So as we're coming to the end, where can people find Levels? Where can people find more about you? Connect on TikTok. Give the good old elevator pitch so that we can get some traffic and people to your brand.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So if you want to connect with me, I'll probably be most responsive either on Twitter or Instagram. It's B Rogers, ROGERS, and then 3 1s. So B Rogers 111. I'm super responsive to especially Instagram. I think I'm public on Instagram, so you should be able to just shoot me a message if you have any questions about anything. The brand is Levels Sportswear on all social media channels: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it may be. And the website is the same, levelsportswear.com, LVLS sportswear.com.
Awesome. We'll make sure to leave all of those links in the show notes too, and also on the YouTube channel. So make sure to check them out. Pretty amazing stuff. Super happy for you, man. It sounds like things are going in a great direction, and really appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Awesome.